Okay, welcome back everyone. Today's lecture is going to be, I guess my learning progress is going to be a second loop. This loop is going to be one day creating this triangular shape of sharps. Last week was the other way, now we're going to do it this way. So the way it works is that you have to fill in this area. Let me change that to a different color. Fill in this area so that we have this organization of a sharps, like printing out. So it's the same thing as last time when we were doing a sharp 5 of them on top, and then 4, and then 3, and 2, and 1. So instead of we are filling the space with the sharp, we are actually, well, okay, I guess pound sign. Um, in the background music, background is the music, I'm putting it as a sharp sign. Anyway, so instead of putting this sharp sign or pound sign, I am placing a empty space and then place the pound sign to it. So basically we are having a same pattern of a program language where we are using a same let equal to 0 going to for loop and then going into from that 0 to the n, and then keep adding that to make a one outer loop, and then going to inner loop to, instead of placing a pound sign, we are placing a empty space. Okay, so let me actually go through this and see how it looks like. So first one, having an I as a 0, right? And then 0 as an I is less than n, which is the value of 5. Okay, and then it adds up to another 1, right? So this is true, so we are adding to that value, which is going to be using this for next loop. Okay, now outer loop is done. Now it goes into the inner loop. Okay, our first inner loop is going to be j is equal to 0, and then that j0 is going to be less than n as in 5. Okay, well, yeah, it is. Well, it is 5 is greater than 0, so this is true. So now that j is going to be added up one more, which is here. Okay, now the string equal to string plus that empty space. Okay, so earlier we have a string is given as a just nothing, right? Now we are submitting that into this a one space to it. So I'm gonna put place an output here, temporary storage area of what the message is being stored in the string. So instead of putting underline, I'm going to put as a little box as our first empty space. Okay, goes into j now equal to 1 because the first loop is done. And then 1 is still less than 5. 1 is less than 5, yes. So now it's going to add up to 2. Okay, now our first string that was stored is empty space, right? So that's a string that's coming in. So that's empty space plus another empty space, right? So now I have a new string is going to be second empty space, right? And you can already tell this will continue until this becomes false, which is what? When this becomes 5, right? So when j is equal to 5, 5 less than 5, no, they are equal to each other, so this does not work. So we don't add up anymore, loop ends here. So going from 0 up to 4 is how many loop is going to occur to keep adding this empty space. So from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5 empty space. Well, 5 loops that's happening here, the first in the loop. So that means we're adding 5 empty spaces. Okay, so up to this point, what we have as string added up is going to be this one. Okay, hopefully that's clear so far. And then now it goes into our second inner loop, which is now k equal to 0. Okay, so this is a little different compared to the previous one where we are adding from 5 to 4 and 3 and 2, 1, which is going to be the empty space, and it's going to be fill up this area, basically. But instead now we have to start adding on top of it, right? So let's go into that. So we have a k here, and that k is a 0, should be less than or equal to I, which I we still have as a 0, right? Which is good. So it is equal or less than equal to each other, right? So now k adds up to 1. Okay, and so what does this do? The same string that we saved earlier, which is this one, on top of that we're going to add a sharp sign or pound sign to it, right? So earlier new string that is going to be equal to that 5 empty space plus that pound sign. It was a single double quote. Okay, so now we're going to add that to here, this end, and it's going to be output. It's going to look like that. Okay, so let's go to k equal to 1. Well, 1 is not less than or equal to 0, right? This is false, so we don't add up anymore. So the loop ends only one time of looping, and it's done. So this part is done now. Now it goes into our next one, which is another string, right? String, which is coming from here, and then where we are adding, right? Another br, which is going to be the next line. So we have that plus br. So which is the next line, right? Break line. So we are adding that br to here. Okay, so so far we are done up to this point, which is our first loop of the outer loop. So we go back to here as now I is equal to 1, which comes from here, right? So the second outer loop, now the 1 is less than 5, yes, so it's now I is going to be 2. Okay, going back to that j again, okay, which is inner loop, first inner loop, repeating that again. So 0, 5, and then 1. Actually, I forgot 1 here. It's supposed to be 5 minus 0, right? Because it's n minus I, and I was 0. I forgot that one there. So now it's going to be 1 there, right? I is here. So now you can see that we are adding string equal to that string that was there, right? That was saved earlier. 5 and then space plus the br, and we are adding what again? Adding another empty space, right? So now we have the br, and then we have a space here. And it's gonna go, once again, keep on going until what? J is equal to 4. 4 is less than 5 minus 1, which is 4. Well, they are equal to each other, not less than, right? So it's not gonna go anymore. So what do we have? We have a 0, 1, 2, 3, and then stop, right? So we are adding a 4 spaces, including the first one we had, right? So 2, 3, 4. So the first inner loop stops there and then goes to second inner loop. Okay. Once again, k is equal to 0, starting as now k is less than or equal to, which is case what? Is on 0 in the beginning. Less than or equal to what? I, which is 1. Well, that is true, right? So we add k to 1. So we have a string that was here, right? Oops. That was here, and then we're going to add that 1 pound sign after it, right? So that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pound, and then br, and that 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we are adding that plus what? We have pound sign plus the pound sign. Okay, so we add that to here. And k2, k is 1 now. Let's go one more step as a loop. 1. Okay, so that makes true too, right? So now it's case 2. So we are adding another sharp. Okay, now what if k is at 2 Well, 2 is not less than or equal to 1, right? So it stops here. So it adds up to 2, and then it stops that for loop and then goes to the next line, which is what? Adding another BR. So it keeps on going on and on and on until we have this space 3. Now we have a 3 sharp and then BR. And then 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then BR. And then 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then BR. And this is where everything stops here. Right? We done up to the outer and inner loop all together. Now my next experiment was about this. Okay, so if I were to print as is, okay, so let me get rid of all the writings, that gibberish that I wrote. Okay, it outputs in this way. But what if I were to not to use a pre tag in here and using just a straight out output as shown here? These are exactly the same thing, except I just got rid of everything here and then output. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, so let's refresh that. Oh, look here. This is not what we wanted, right? So what happens here is that this empty space they were supposed to put, when it's outputting as HTML, they don't take it as a space. So we have to implement a space. And one of the code that we use in HTML is what? This squiggly end and NBSP, and then semicolon. This indicates a space. Now, if I were to save this, it gives you this shape instead. Well, there are 5 spaces actually here. If I were to, I don't think I can count that easily. 4, and then there is actually 5 here, which, okay, there you go. So 5. So there are 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we do have a 5 spaces here. Why is it not showing earlier as if this the triangle is not like, not like this as a right triangle? It's more like an isosceles triangle now, right? It's because of the pre. It's a pre-tag. So what does pre-tag do to the code when it comes to outputting is that when we have I versus K, the width of the letter is much greater with the K compared to I. So what pre-tag does is that it doesn't matter what kind of letter you have. They all take up the same space, whether it's I or K or J, whatever it is. So without the pre-tag, HTML tag in it, this NBSP, the space, is going to be taking up the least amount possible. That's why showing this isosceles triangle of a shape instead of earlier when we were doing a right triangle. So if I were to go back here, which we already saw, and then let me comment this out, and then we restart that one, and then save goes back to that. So there's space in here is taken up by same space width as the sharp. So let me actually, okay, there you go, right? So you can already see this space is same space as that one. Okay, so that's what we need for us to have this shape going with a pre-tag as a part of an output, showing this way. Okay, so it's a another way of getting around to get this. And I think I need to find out how to get rid of this so that this actually sits flush to the left, and see if I can actually handle that next time. Hopefully you learn some from here, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.